Hello everyone, welcome to Hope and Wellness channel. I'm Omid, your host, and today we're going to talk about carbohydrates and how our body interacts with carbohydrates and what are the impacts of carbohydrates in the body. Let's get to it. Okay, so by now, by watching the previous videos, I hope that you've this understanding of carbohydrates that they are not essential. So they're not any essential component in the carbohydrates and our body doesn't require them. And they have two general types, simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are like table sugar, that is 50% glucose, the molecule that our body recognizes and can produce energy out of it. And then fructose, that is not directly usable in the body. And our body requires to do some process on it to convert it to different type of sugar in order to use it. And then there are complex carbohydrates that are like starches from potato, bread, pasta, and things like that. That that is a long chain of simple sugars attached together. And in a few seconds after eating them, after ingesting them, your body just breaks it down, that starch, and makes sugar out of it. And it's basically the same thing. And then there is fiber, another complex carb that is not usable to our body at all. And the microbes in the body can use them. Okay, so not our cells or microbes can use them. Okay, so with that understanding, let's see what are the impacts of sugar in the body. So the first impact and bad effect of sugar in the body is glycation. Glycation is a process of denaturing proteins because they are combined with carbohydrates. So you put some sugar next to some protein and they start reacting, and the protein just loses its own properties and becomes something else, and that is called glycation. Okay, so this glycation is the same process that you uh, that you use to brown your foods, like you when you sear a steak, a piece of meat, or when you toast your bread. That browning thing on the top, that browning effect, is glycation. So it just denatures the protein on the surface of the food, and it's very delicious to us. Okay, so we know what glycation is. So when does it happen? Where does it happen? It happens all the time. Whenever there is sugar and protein together, glycation is happening. That's a natural thing. And it happens everywhere in the body. So it happens in your skin and you get wrinkles. Okay, so your skin is getting glycated. It happens in your eyes lenses, and we call it, everyone knows that, cataract. So cataract is glycated eye lenses. It happens in your red blood cells. And that's in fact the way that they measure how much blood sugar you've had in the past 3 months. Because your red blood cells get glycated every day, and they measure that glycation over 3 months. Okay, over the lifetime, like average lifetime of red blood cell. It happens in the kidney, and you get kidney damage, dysfunction of kidney. It happens in the brain, and you lose function of the brain, and they call it Alzheimer's disease, and everywhere. Okay, so this glycation is a natural process, but it's very dangerous to the body. When it's dangerous when it happens too many times, too often, with too much blood sugar, higher than the normal level um, of the body. Okay, but this glycation that is from the glucose in the blood sugar and putting it next to the proteins in the body, it's not just limited to that type of sugar. You remember the fructose? Fructose was the other 50% content of the table sugar. Fructose is the sugar that you get from fruits. That molecule does glycation as well. They call it fructation. Okay, and there is a very good research from Macpherson JD and Shelton BH and others in 1988. I'll put a reference in the show note on that. That shows that fructation happens 10 times faster comparing to glycation. Let me repeat that. So when you're having a piece of fruit and you're getting fructose out of it, your body is getting glycated or fructated 10 times faster comparing to when you're having a piece of uh, bread, potato, or something that has only glucose or starch that gets converted to glucose. Okay, so that's the first danger. So every dangerous thing that you get from glucose and high blood sugar, you get from fructose as well, but 10 times worse, but you are not measuring it in the blood test. So when you're measuring your blood test, you're only measuring the blood glucose that goes high or low. And when you're doing the finger pricks and stuff like that, you're just measuring that. You're not measuring the fructation, the fructose in the bloodstream. Okay, that's the first danger. And then let's talk about how our body reacts to that. So this blood sugar is so much dangerous to the body, so much toxic to the body. Although our body requires that, so there are couple of body cells that can only use glucose to produce energy. They cannot use anything else. Like some cells in the kidney, red blood cell, and stuff like that, they only require glucose, but they require certain amount of glucose. So at every moment in your body, you require between 4 to 5 grams of glucose, not more than that. So when you provide your body with 50 grams of glucose in your sugary soda, you're providing too much sugar. And that too much sugar is so toxic to the body because of all the bad effects that we talk about in this video that the body needs to bring it down immediately. Otherwise, there will be damages to every cell in the body. And some of those damages are permanent. So, what does the body do? One of the mechanisms that the body uses is producing some hormones to bring down the blood sugar. What are hormones? Again, hormones are messaging chemicals that one part of the body produces to send messages to other parts of the body. So in this case, our pancreas starts excreting more insulin hormone after sensing the blood sugar is too high. And this hormone, insulin, goes across the body, all over the body, and tells the cells to open up and use up more glucose. That's a way of body just trying to lowering down the blood sugar level. So cells start to use up more and more of this sugar, okay? But we are adding more and more sugar to the bloodstream. We're eating our next meal, or we're having the next bite, or next sugary drink, or we're adding another spoon of table sugar to the next cup of our coffee. Okay. So this message is getting sent over and over again. So the cells that are listening to this message are hearing this message too many times. Okay. So they get sort of resistant to this message. So look at the picture in the screen on the screen. That's a typical cell in the body. Okay, so we have uh, the different parts of the cell, and it has a membrane, a border around the cell. Okay, and there are channels that listen to different chemicals, listen to different hormones, and react to them. And there are other channels that open up, close down, or there are transporters that go to the surface of the cell and get some nutrients and come back to the other part of the cell to use up those nutrients. Okay. So when we're sending this message, this insulin, too many times, this cells are getting sort of numb to it. So they resist to that message. So they get insulin resistant. They're not listening to insulin. Why is it bad or why is it good? First of all, if you want to bring down the blood sugar, it doesn't do that anymore. Okay, so it's not working. You have insulin in the body, in the bloodstream. It's higher than normal, so you're producing more, but it's not working. So your blood sugar stays high. That's diabetes type 2. And then they give you more insulin to inject. Isn't that funny? So the whole problem happens because you have had too many sugar, too many carbohydrates in your food for so long that your body doesn't listen to its own insulin, and they give you more insulin to treat that. That's one thing, but one bad thing. And then this insulin resistance happens everywhere. It's not just to some type of body cells that use up sugar. It can happen in liver, for example, and you get liver damage. It can happen in your fat tissue and you get insulin resistance in the fat, which has two effects. First of all, you cannot convert the blood sugar to the fat and you get fatter, but your blood sugar stays stable. So that's one bad effect. Your blood sugar stays high, but your fat cells think that, okay, so I'm not bringing in any sugar and converting it to fat, so let's release some of the fat content that we had before to the bloodstream. So you have high blood sugar from your meal, the insulin is not working, and then you have high fat in the bloodstream. High sugar, high triglyceride. Okay, high fat content in the blood, and that's dangerous. Okay, so that's insulin resistance in fat, and then you might have insulin resistance in the brain. What do they call it? Alzheimer's disease. That's diabetes type 3. So they call it, like, because it's related to sugar and stuff, they call it diabetes type 3. It's just to make the point that it is very important and it is related to blood sugar and carbohydrates and stuff like that. So your brain can get insulin resistant. So what does insulin do in the body other than bringing down blood sugar? It does 100 different things. It's a very important hormone in the body. For example, in the brain, it just stimulates brain to produce more uh, neurotransmitters, more molecules, more compounds in the brain that send messages or changes the way that different neurons are interacting to each other. For example, dopamine. You've heard of this name before. It's a chemical in the brain that gives you satisfaction, that makes you happy, that you want to have something. That's the reward signal in the brain. And when you have insulin resistance, you'll have problems with those as well. So your brain doesn't work properly. Okay. So what else happens in the brain? When you have the insulin and it brings down the blood sugar, it doesn't just bring it down to the level that you want. It just brings it down, down, down until you sense it. When you sense it, when it's too low, it's natural. That's how it works. It starts, think about it, it starts excreting more insulin, the body, more insulin, because it senses that you have too much sugar. When does it stop? It stops when it senses that you have too low sugar. Okay, so when you have not enough blood sugar in your body, what happens? You want more sugary food. So that's low blood sugar cycle. Okay, so your blood sugar goes high, your insulin goes high, your blood sugar brings your blood sugar down, and insulin comes down, but you need more sugar. So that's your next time that you crave sugar. So you're basically addicted to carbs. When you start this cycle, it's a vicious cycle. It just goes up and down, and you go with this up and down. So that's blood sugar swing that you have, that every couple of hours you need to replete your blood sugar with some sugary food, with some carbohydrate, like a chocolate bar or something sweet. That is happening because of this cycle. And it's addiction. It's carb addiction. What else? So because of that, messing with the hormonal system and with the neurotransmitters in the brain, our brain is getting tricked to want more carbohydrates. So our brain wants more of that happiness signal in the brain. And without tasting, and I'm not talking about the sweetness, the sweet taste of the food, of the sugary foods. I'm talking about the chemical effects that is happening in the background, in the subconscious, without you sensing it. So they've done experiments that they've given like different groups, different foods with the without sweetness, without the taste, and the group that had more sugar content in their food, but it wasn't sweet, so they couldn't say that which one was sweet or not. They preferably chose the sugary foods, the food with more carbohydrates. So your brain is deciding even when you don't know the food has sugar or not. Okay, so you're basically craving sugary foods, craving more carbohydrates, and that means that you're addicted to carb. So when you see a piece of bread, it's not just the taste of bread or it's the smell of bread. You want more of that after the first bite. You just want more and more and more. Okay. What are the other effects? So many other bad things can happen in the body, but just a couple of more examples, like mineral imbalance. So you will lose like some electrolytes. You will keep some minerals like more than usual. That causes imbalance in your bloodstream. So you have something more than what you need, you have something less than what you need. You will use up your vitamin C reserve because digesting and metabolizing carbohydrates requires vitamin C. That's a cofactor. When you use up too much vitamin C, you're deficient in vitamin C, and it has consequences in other things like your immune system getting weaker, or your skin doesn't heal as fast, or uh, scurvy or things like that. So too much carbohydrate, too little vitamin C. So you need to go and buy vitamin C supplements, or you need to have high vitamin C content foods like fruits and stuff like that, which last time we checked together, fruits have too much sugar. So again, we're down into this cycle of too much sugar and carb addiction and stuff like that. Okay? I hope that you're realizing the pattern here. Let's talk about the other effects. So, how does our body metabolize food? Um, what is metabolizing? It's just converting the incoming food to energy. Okay? So, what are the fuel sources for cells in the body? Every cell in the body has some process called Krebs cycle, citric acid cycle, they call it as well. This Krebs cycle is a process of bringing in nutrient to the cell and oxidizing it and producing some energy, some electron that can be used uh, to run the body. Okay, so the outcome of this process is ATP, is a currency of energy in the body, adenosine triphosphate. So that's a molecule. We'll talk about that in future videos. But this Krebs cycle, this process has two different inputs, two fuel sources. One is glucose, that's a molecule of life, molecule of energy that our body can use to produce energy. And if we don't have it, just a reminder again, if we don't have it, our body can create glucose out of fat and protein. But the other source, other than glucose, is fat. So every cell in the body can use fat as a fuel source to produce energy and ATP. Other than a couple of cells in the body, like red blood cell that requires only sugar, and some cells in the kidney and stuff that only require sugar. Okay. Other than those, every other cell can use fat as well. Okay. So when you have abundance of sugar in the blood, because you have had too many carbohydrates in your meal, or you have had too often carbohydrates in your meal, and your body starts to excreting and producing more insulin and forcing the body cells to use up more sugar. You're using preferably more sugar in each cell. So each of cells of your body is getting used to use more sugar and choosing sugar over fat. Okay, so that uh, that makes your body cells inflexible. So you don't have the flexibility between choosing fat or sugar. So your body is getting only used to use sugar. Okay, so you're inflexible. So you're basically addicted to sugar, addicted to carb. So every time that you're providing your body with too much carbohydrates, think about this. You're forcing your body to not think of fat as a fuel source and only use up the carbohydrate. And it doesn't matter that you have had like 100 grams of fat with 100 grams of sugar. Sugar is dangerous to the body, is toxic to the body. So when sugar is present in the food, in the bloodstream, like too much sugar, your body starts using it up because it wants to clear it down, and you're losing your flexibility. Okay? And that's another reason of carb addiction. Okay? So, what is the best is to limit our intake of carbohydrates. So, carbohydrates are not essential. They're toxic to the body. Not carbohydrates. The sugar, high blood level of sugar is toxic to the body. the mechanisms that our body uses to bring down the blood sugar is also toxic. So insulin, too much insulin produces insulin resistance, and it causes damages to different tissues in the body, like brain, like fat tissue. The sugar itself causes damages like cataract in your eyes, like wrinkles in your skin, and it happens, it just rots down every body cell. So it's very dangerous as well. This process of toxicating our body happens with glucose, 50% of the table sugar. It happens with the starches because it breaks down to glucose. That's called glycation. And it happens with fructose that comes from fruit, and that's half of the table sugar that you get from your sugary soda or your chocolate bar or whatever that you're eating. Okay? And it happens 10 times faster. So everything that you eat that is sweet, or it's not sweet, like a potato, but it is starchy, that is potentially convertible to sugar, is dangerous to your body because of multiple reasons that we have gone through. I hope that by now you have this understanding that carbohydrates can put you in a very strange position, that you want more of them, but they're impacting you and affecting you in a bad way. Okay, I hope it was usable content to you and you liked the video, and I hope that you got something out of it. And until next time, let's focus on hope and wellness.